It's been more than 4 decades since Montana set down an ambitious path to define every water right held in the state. Now the end of this massive judicial undertaking is in sight. As Stan Parker reports, entering the final chapter adds urgency to long-standing concerns about the accuracy and security of water rights records.
Elk Creek may not roar, but it's a vital source of water here on the King Ranch in central Montana.
My grandpa moved here full-time in the late 40s, early 50s, and my family's been here full-time ever since.
Even decades before Jay King's family arrived, water has been diverted from this point to flood irrigate the hayfields downstream.
Where we live, we get an average of about 12, 13 inches of moisture a year. So it's not a lot. Dry years, we just don't put up very much hay. Being able to irrigate out of the creek and out of Yellowwater Dam is a huge benefit for us.
Inside his ranch house, Jay keeps a folder that many ag families in Montana may find familiar. In it, papers outlining his family's rights to use the water that passes through their place.
Well, here we go. Current capacity of 4,400 acre-feet.
The King family's rights are among the 219,000 individual claims that Montanans submitted to the state more than 40 years ago. When Montana's new constitution took effect on July 1, 1973, it mandated all existing water rights be recognized and confirmed, and called for a new central records system going forward.
The state constitution mandates that there is a centralized record system for the management of water in the state of Montana.
The job of administering all these records belongs to the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation. Trevor Watson is the DNRC's Deputy Administrator for Water Resources.
So we manage a water rights information system that has an electronic database, paper records, scanned records, and that is our process for helping the administration of water.
And the last word on defining and confirming those water rights was given to the newly formed Montana Water Court in 1979. Decades later, the court is still completing this effort across Montana's defined 86 basins. This map shows how each basin sits at various stages of completion in the complicated process.
Montana's adjudication is the biggest in the United States. It may be the single biggest piece of combined litigation in this country. I don't know. There is no Western state that has a more ambitious program for determination of its water rights than Montana.
Judge Russ McElyea is Montana's chief water judge. His goal since taking this job a little over a decade ago has been to bring this long, drawn-out process to a close, which means issuing what are known as final decrees for each of those 86 basins.
There was many roadblocks that we had to overcome in order to begin issuing final decrees. We've now issued 4 on my tenure, and we've got quite a few more now in the queue.
There are still years to go, but the coming of these final decrees means the end is in sight. And it means the pressure is on for fixing long-standing concerns about managing errors in the records. Judge McElyea says the transition from old paper records to digital ones has led to some of those issues.
And then the department itself has historically engaged in practices which sometimes have resulted in modification to public records without the knowledge of the court and without the knowledge of the property owner.
Lawmakers on the Water Policy Interim Committee, or WIPIC, recently heard from the Water Court and the DNRC about their joint efforts to tackle these problems. Watson told lawmakers about the agency's plans to improve the data systems and include water users in the process. Representative Jill Konauer pressed him on what's being done about errors.
I know that we have talked at least over the last 6 years in WIPIC about how errors were going to be addressed in the system. Can you talk about what kind of a process is in place for addressing those types of things, and how would a water right holder engage with DNRC on fixing an error in the system?
So we're starting a outreach strategy to not only have more touch points with water right users, but also to gather that information that would help us. 2 would be we are moving toward getting data quality strategies put in place for the water rights information system for all entries. So that will, I believe we have a timeline on that of April 24, and then implementation by the end of the year.
Krista Lee Evans spoke up for water rights holders at the meeting. She's a consultant and a lobbyist that helps people navigate water rights issues.
Errors are a significant issue for us. Changes are made to our property rights without our knowledge or approval, and then it's our burden and cost to fix those.
That's something that I want to take full ownership of, because I think that's a problem. It needs to be easier. And, she highlighted some situations where they're very clearly DNRC errors. And so that's something that we have been actually working very closely with the Water Court on over the past couple months, is to really identify where those errors are occurring and developing robust solutions to make sure that those errors don't continue.
Judge McAleer acknowledged the Water Court makes mistakes too.
The way the system is presently constituted, that imposes a burden on the water user and sometimes a cost to fix a problem that wasn't of their making.
And sometimes, even without errors, the adjudication process simply produces outcomes that are hard to swallow.
We hear repeatedly from water users, we went through hell getting our water rights properly defined as a consequence of this adjudication process. And at the end of it, we learned that the water rights that we thought we had after all that time, money, and effort were not the ones that we thought we had. And that's crushing for the people that have been through it. And it's difficult for those of us at the court who take pride in trying to serve those people and give them clear answers to the questions that they put to us.
The Kings haven't gotten everything they've wanted from the Water Court, but for the most part, things have worked out for them generally like they're supposed to.
We have one small deal where I tried to change one of our water rights, and the Water Court didn't go in our favor, unfortunately. But as far as our main water rights, we haven't had any issues with the filing process or the process since the late 70s when it was restarted.
For water rights holders like the Kings, the most important part of the water right is the priority date, 1893 for their oldest rights. That's when their forebears, the Bean brothers, first started diverting water from this point. If Elk Creek had to be rationed, the Kings' hayfields would theoretically take priority over newer uses. This system of first in time, first in right, is a legacy of the early mining days.
There were a lot of conflicts over usage of water in the gold fields, and so a practical kind of rough justice way of allocating it was, well, whoever got here first has the prior right, and then the second person had the second right, and the third and fourth and so on. Where the adjudication has a role or value is that when there is increasing conflict over water or any property interests, it's extremely valuable to have clear definitions of what that property interest is, because that tends to suppress conflict and reduce the need for people to fight over stuff that should have been determined a long time ago.
That need for clarity, the highest purpose of this vast, expensive litigation, highlights the importance of correcting errors, and also in ensuring that these final decrees find a proper home in the public record. As Judge McAleer told lawmakers, there's work to do.
It's my opinion that we are falling short of the mark as matters presently stand.
He said lawmakers need to decide what a final decree really means.
What significance does it have? Is it sacred or is it malleable? Can it be modified on a whim, or should it be carved in stone? It's for you guys to decide.
And making final decrees clear in the public record.
The problem is that as presently operated, the database does not reflect a single unified version of a final decreed water right when a final decree comes out. So if you look at the basins in which we've issued final decrees, you will see scanned paper documents of the final decree, so it is in the database. That claim can be made accurately. But you'll also see general abstracts that include information that's not on and wasn't in the final decree. So already, even though some of the ink on these final decrees is just now drying, we've got multiple versions of the same water right in the database, which will lead to confusion. It will lead to future unnecessary litigation, and it does not, in my opinion, achieve the objective of this long and expensive process, which is to provide clarity and finality to the water users.
Watson says the DNRC is actively working with the Water Court on harmonizing their systems. Should anyone have questions about the records they see on the DNRC's website, he says agency staff is standing by to help.
I think the best place to start is going to our regional offices, finding out what information may be of help to you. Education is key on this. We're doing what we can. The department in the past has not always been great on outreach of education and water right information knowledge, and we're trying to improve that in a big way in 2024. But in the meantime, if somebody has any questions, I really would encourage them to walk through an office door or give them a call.
And then there's the question of where we go from here.
The time is certainly ripe for the legislature to begin contemplating what the future looks like. Oftentimes, the best legislation is not the product of a crisis, but the product of careful planning in advance. So Montana is sitting at this juncture where we all have the luxury of being able to think about the future, think about how we're going to address conflicts in water, and prescribe solutions to some of those problems that are obviously coming. And therein is the job of the legislature, because they're the policymakers.
For Impact, I'm Stan Parker.
The Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation assembled a new team to reach out to water users and educate the public. The agency also recently revamped its online tool that lets the public view water rights records, and it launched a new tool to quickly notify users of new water use permits in their area. Those resources are online at dnrc.mt.gov.